I love working with a team towards a common goal.
For the camaraderie.
Camaraderie and playing with my teammates.
I play for my team.
Teamwork and the connections that I can build on and off field.
For the community and the exercise.
Because of the community and the competition.
I like playing Ultimate Frisbee for the competition.
I play for the competition and the fun.
For fun.
Because fun.
I love getting to work hard.
You get out of it what you put into it.
Leave everything out here.
Every time I step on the field, I want to be a better player.
You know, give something people to talk about.
Be happy but never satisfied.
To step away from real life and focus on Frisbee.
I play because I love Ultimate.
Find your drive.
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 Welcome to the 2026 Ultimate Canada High School Invitational here in Cambridge, Ontario. My name is Kimberly Mahay, and I am here with Sanjay. Hi, Sanjay.
Thanks, Kim. So excited to be here. This is the second game for both of these teams going into the group stage today. Should be a great matchup.
We are looking at Kingston Secondary School out of, as mentioned, Kingston, against Collège Notre-Dame, based in Montreal, Quebec.
Yeah, both teams
don't have any more. Yeah, go ahead, Sanjay.
Sorry, Kim. You'll see, viewers, we got a little bit of a delay because we're both remote today, so hopefully that doesn't happen again, but you never know. So Notre-Dame won their first game against Marival, 12-6. Kingston lost their first game in a tight 12-9 loss. Kingston are coming in today technically seeded last in what is a very tight group, but anything is possible, especially in a short game, windy conditions like we're seeing today. Anything's possible. There could be an upset.
So we're looking here, Kingston starting on O. We're looking downfield. And a D by Notre-Dame. Notre-Dame trying to set up on the far side of your screen here, and they get it in for a break. So Notre-Dame.
And that can just happen sometimes. That can just happen sometimes, right, Kim? I'm not going to read too much into them doing an early turnover, but it's so tough when you turn over early in the game. You don't know who's marking for you, and it's easy for someone to just get an easy open cut like she did just there. So easy first point there because no one was on her in the end zone.
Exactly. We mentioned this a bit in the last stream that we had. So this is early May. For those at home who are maybe unfamiliar a bit with the Frisbee landscape, seasons start around May, mid-May, outside. And so for a lot of these people, this is the first time that they're playing outside. Throws and catches, all these things are made a little bit more difficult at this time of year. And so it's impressive to see how far these teams have gone, considering many of them have probably started throwing outside 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, depending on where they live in the country. So we are looking at players that are trying to adapt to outside conditions early on in the season. We are looking at 4 male matching players, 3 female matching players. So Notre-Dame here pulling from the right side of your screen to the left side of your screen. Sanjay, I know that you were commentating the last game. Any news on wind conditions, what that looked like for you?
Yeah, great question. So we do have kind of not ideal conditions for a Frisbee game today. The wind for you viewers at home is going from left to right down across the screen. So right now Kingston are going to go downwind. Might see a hawk here early on. Not only that, but we were seeing some hail, some not quite rain, not quite snow, something slurry. It seemed to die down, thankfully, but it's not brilliant.
Great second effort here. Matheson. They try and punch it in. And so Notre-Dame is going to be back on O. Pitch in here. Charles pitch in to pick up the disc. Middle of the field. It looks like there's a zone that's going to be put. We're looking at a 3-person cup here. Great way to gain yards. Powers, pitch in, back and forth. And they are inching up the field slowly, just working with each other. Pitch in trying to quarterback a little bit with Powers here. Trying to indicate what he wants. Pretty tight zone we have looking here.
I was just going to say the same thing, Kim. I really like this zone that they're having. They're putting number 30 here for Kingston, who's that? Hayden Easton. He's a big body. That's a tough guy to throw around, regardless of who you are, what gender you are, however tall. To throw around. You put him on the mark every time. Now that does require a lot of cardio from him, though.
Exactly, and we're talking quite a wide mark, so it's hard to throw around. And so he limits the options that the thrower has here. Pitch in. He can't really have the entire field open to him. If you have that kind of mark on you, you have to be second guessing the throws that you're able to get off. There's a call here on the field. It has been a Powers to pitch in kind of offense here. Michalov. Back to Powers. Kingston with a chance on O. This is the second turn we see, Sanjay. I don't know if you have any thoughts. It feels like the first turn and the second turn from Kingston were pretty similar.
Yeah, well, like you were saying before, Kim, it's early. Oh, sorry, I was getting a bit of an echo there. It's early in the season. Notre-Dame only had 4 or 5 practices going into this, so they're relying on chemistry, maybe some of the stuff they did outdoors in the fall to go into this tournament, and relying on some of their star power to really carry them through. It's contrary to what you see at a lot of the highest stakes tournaments, whether it's college or whatever else, also club, where you have all the practice throughout the season.
Yeah, good point. And a quick score here by Kingston. This is the objective of zones. You want to be able to force these turnovers close to an end zone and then fast transition into a quick score here.
Great goal there from Kingston. That was effectively a hold, I'm pretty sure. So big deal there for them to get that on. You don't want to get an early down by 2 points and then have to scrap back. Although, Kim, in the games we've seen today, we've seen a lot of runs, and that's usually what it is at high school level. It's runs, and whoever can stop the run and keep a run going for longer is the team that usually wins.
Exactly. I'm a fan of these Kingston jerseys. I've never seen those before.
I was just going to say the same thing. I'm just checking it out right now. Contrary to our sponsor, it looks like they're VC jerseys, so good stuff there, but really nice jerseys there by Kingston.
Yes, Kingston coaching staff here. We have Matt Carrière, Megan Kirby, Adam Lynn, and Rachel Miner. And on the side for Collège Notre-Dame, we have François Lavigne, Antoine Lavigne, and Jérémy Girard.
Saw a flick pull there by Kingston. Don't see a whole lot of those these days. That's always fun to see.
we saw 3 or 4 of them in the last game, and I had the same reaction. It's such a surprising. I would never consider pulling flick. Maybe I have to learn a thing or two from these guys. A little bit of bouncing on the mark. We have a lot of running from the backfield. As you can see here, they're just pushing against this Kingston mark. There's going to be a foul call.
Controversial point here, Cam. Notre Dame are using a familiar strategy where you jump the disc and you get a couple steps to move with your momentum. Kingston caught on what they were doing. They threw their big guy Hayden Easton back into space. He's taking the contact. He's saying, look, I'm standing here. I'm allowed to stand here. They're saying, hey, you're not allowed to get in our way. Tough one. This is them trying to abuse the rules on both ways, see what they end up deciding what to do. This is why you have observers, especially at an age level like high school.
Exactly. Doyle here would have to be completely static. That's the argument point here, is that he would have to argue that every time he gets fouled or someone runs into him, he's completely static. And I think that's what Kingston's trying to argue is that go ahead.
Sorry, Kim. I was just going to say, it looked like he was pretty static on that one.
Yeah. It's just, you can do it once here and there, but it seems like they're going to keep using that strategy the entire time. It's going to be a lot of back and forth if this turns out what the game is going to be argued on.
Yes, agreed. Not what I want to be seeing from the beginning of the game here, Kim. This is not the spirit of the game. And I'm not trying to say either team are trying to do anything deliberately bad, but this is not the most fun thing here. I remember Ludovic Mejo, he's the guy with the disc in the hand right now from UCHSI last year. He's a key player here by Notre-Dame. He made Team Canada under-20 mixed. So he's definitely one of the most complete athletes, both offensively and defensively, that you'll see on Notre-Dame, and one of the key players that'll make or break this tournament for them.
And a quick pop here. Number 77. I don't have it on my roster. What did you say his name was?
Oh, sorry, that was Ludovic Mejo. I hope I'm saying that right. Mejo?
Mayo? Oh, I have him as 11. Oh, I might be 11 or 77. Okay. I think I was seeing 77 on his jersey, but Ludovic Mayo, I think, is who you're mentioning. A quick pop to the end zone for Collège Notre-Dame. So we are 2-1 for Notre-Dame. Notre-Dame up 1 break.
Interesting. So when that zone melted there and they started going to a one-on-one match defense just in front of the end zone, Hayden Easton, that big body that we brought on a couple times, picked up Ludovic. Now, I know that Kingston must know that Ludovic is the guy to match. So I wonder if Hayden picking him up was just how it happened to go with the zone melting there, or if that's the matchup they want to see. Hayden definitely has a height advantage, but Ludovic's great strength is his agility and his ability to get open. So maybe if it was me as a coach, you'd want to put someone a bit more agile to mark him as opposed to just someone who's going to beat him in the air. But maybe they think Hayden is their best defensive option for this guy.
I do agree. Mayo needs someone, if you want to try and limit his options, you have to stop his quickness. And big bodies often might be a little bit more tricky for them. Notre-Dame out with 4 female matching players. Go ahead. Guys, we'll get used to this.
Notre Dame are no rookie to this tournament. They've been here the last 3 years and in 2017, and it's only a new program. It's their 10-year anniversary, so happy anniversary here to Notre Dame. Hopefully they can end their 10-year anniversary with a trophy, maybe even a podium finish would be nice.
Kingston attempted kind of a huck here. It feels like they're trying to utilize their hucking, but so far coming up unsuccessful on that. They're trying to huck downwind. A downwind huck oftentimes is a little bit more difficult to adjust because it can tend to float, or it's harder to gauge when people are running. Thoughts on hucking so far in the game?
Especially at the high school level, Kim, we see a lot of hucks coming out See a lot of hucks coming out, and it's usually up to a couple players, like we see sometimes at higher levels, especially at university, to be consistent with their throws, and then having a couple key receivers. With the wind today going left and right across the screen, I wouldn't be surprised to see every time we have someone on the left side hucking down to that right side, and it'll be so. For example, right now with Notre-Dame, what do? Oh, they huck upwind. They don't care.
Great attempt here by Maillot, trying to get exactly that. Trying to get them in a better position.
This could end up
Curious
being
to see if this is what the rest of the game is going to look like for us.
I was just going to say the same thing, Kib. Could be a bit of an ugly game. We saw that already with some of the blocks in that zone. And the Hawks going back and forth, it could just end up being that all day long.
Maillot playing small ball with Pitchin. That's Powers. That is not Pitchin. My bad. Doing a great job shredding this offense here. Unfortunate drop. Kingston with the disc. Kerr to Olashuk. Looking for something in the end zone, decides to dump it around. Castle looking to put it in the end zone, and just a bit too much float on that disc. Pitchin is going to put it, and that is successful. Powers trying to indicate to the players to play it calm, play it cool. And it's a score upwind here for Notre-Dame.
What a goal there, what a run, what a huck upwind, great read of the disc, and then great patience there by Notre-Dame to keep that score. I remember watching Notre-Dame last year. This is not a hugely different squad. Some of their key players are still the same, but one of the issues that they had last year was it was a really male-dominated team. And against teams that had really strong women, I think I remember them playing at UCI with this issue, their women weren't used to having to run so much of the offense through them. So it'll be really interesting to see how some of their key women, such as Elaine Gregoire or Laura Langlois, sorry, I'm terrible with French pronunciations over here, but I do know this sport. It'll be interesting to see how those folks can impact this game.
Exactly. I do believe that the strength of a mixed team, when you're able to provide some solid women on your team, it just makes you a cut above other teams. Notre-Dame heading down with 4 female matching players with a great pull here by a lady on Notre-Dame. Kingston to pick it up. It appears to be match defense. I believe that was a strip call there. Uncontested. Looking upfield to finally get it around backfield. Bonham Carter trying to get involved here, and unfortunately that is shut down by Notre-Dame. Veillet gets it upfield. Unfortunate drop here. I think we can see some of this wind coming in. Loken to Diak. Back to Diak. Bonham Carter. Nope. Sorry. Yes. Bonham Carter looking upfield. Back to Collège Notre-Dame. Veillette gets it on the line. Nice catch here by Veillette. Trying to put it to the end zone and a bit too far. Bonham Carter to pick up. And the throw getting caught in the wind here, giving a chance to Collège Notre-Dame. Attempts to put it in quite a tight window, and that's a turn for Notre-Dame. So we're looking at Kingston here with the offense attempt. Bonham Carter, a lefty out here. Throwing those lethal flick arounds that lefties keep in their arsenal. So we have Loken with the disc here, trying to put it to the end zone, and that is caught in the wind a bit. Thoughts on the wind, Sanjay? It feels like it's affecting both the teams here.
You can hear it in the atmosphere, Mike, that we have going on, Kim. You know, it's definitely picking up, and it's gusty, which makes it hard. But what I'm also seeing from Kingston is what Notre Dame did so well in the last point where they scored is they got the disc in a similar position, and they were just able to be a bit calmer with it, as opposed to rushing that throw a little bit like Marty Loken did there. Now, I'm not saying Marty did the wrong decision, but it's tough situations like that where you have to be so clean and so consistent, and that's why coaches practice end zones all the time.
Mayo back and forth to Veillette. Seems to be the offensive strategy here. High release flick. Mayo showing that he has really the full arsenal of throws.
Yes, Kim, and he's showing a full range of throws, but he's also showing a lot of dexterity in his movement. And we're seeing, you know, when he's getting these blocks, he's wanting to charge up, he's wanting to cut. I'm really excited to see him play at the World Juniors this year with the TC Under-20 mixed team, with a bunch of athletes who can also have a same range as he does, and let him be a bit more expressive in his play. On this team, he has to be a bit more controlled, run his offense a bit more, and here he is making the vet call, doing a timeout. Great call there by Notre Dame.
Exactly. I think showing him on a world stage will definitely make him shine. We have a timeout call. I think that's a good strategy from Notre Dame. We've seen so far quite a few turns on both the sides. And this is something that we want to try and refocus. We want to try and help both the offenses and taking a step back and understanding what's working, what needs a little bit of work, and just giving them a chance to breathe. So far, this point has been quite lengthy, and I can imagine that playing defense at this point feels daunting. And so, smart call by Mayo calling a timeout.
Spoken like a true coach there, Cam. I feel like you probably spent some time on the sideline. Am I right?
Yeah, coach, captain, but yeah, I definitely agree that there's an outlook here.
You know, Kim, it's something about high school ultimate. So much of it is, yes, it's about athleticism, technique. But at the end of the day, you've got to have strength of character and calmness of mind. And I think that's really what the coaches should be focusing on at this point. So for Kingston, they're on defense, they're on the back foot, they're down 2 points. Can they hold on strong? Whether or not they get the block on this point or not, the important thing is that they stay together mentally for the rest of this game.
I completely agree. So Notre Dame here has the chance to set up a scripted offense. So we're seeing a vert stack kind of flooded. Mayo picks up the disc. Mayo, Veillette once again. Fayette looking upfield, looking for something, and it's dumped back to Mayo. Mayo
Great
with a
possession
great
here
foot.
by Notre Dame. It's really patient and calm. And yeah, they had a turnover just there in the corner, but they had so many throws of consistency, and that's the difference maker at games like this. You know, you might still throw to the end, but it's almost you know that you can be patient. That's the game changer.
Bonham Carter looking upfield, getting those slick breaks around. It's really helping to keep the disc moving and giving you a chance to get on the break side pretty easily. And they punch it in. Notre-Dame gets it done. Mayo showing that he can throw in windy conditions.
Yeah, so how are you going to stop a player as talented and as versatile as Ludovic Mayo? This is a tough challenge for any coaching setup. What are you going to do? Do you try and double team him and leave someone else open? Do you do a zone and do a taxi, so a one-man mark who just follows him around the field? Do you try and force him into other areas of the field, so force him downfield, don't let him just keep getting the disc in your hand? I don't know, but they got to try something so far, because of all 4 points Notre Dame have scored, he's been involved in all of them. But it's also easier to say than done, right, Kim?
Yeah, he's definitely one of their strong points on offense. I'll be curious to see how Kingston chooses to adjust, because there is so much back and forth between Mayo and Veillette. Those are two mainstays on the off O-line as handlers. They really are able to throw in this wind pretty uncontested, and so if they're going to be a central part of the O-line, it's imperative for Kingston then match it with a strategy. Whether, like you said, you put a taxi on them, you start doing zone, or you try and get them a specific match defense assigned to their strengths. Kingston gets it with a great rolling pull. We have an ISO here in the middle of the field with Kingston. Travel call. We have Maddie Kerr that was trying to get open. She had the entire field to herself. Doyle looking upfield, trying to get something. It's a Kerr, who I don't know if they're related, but there are two Kerrs on this team. There's a Maddie Kerr and a William Kerr.
Kim, not only are they related, but they're actually twins.
Really? That's awesome.
Fun fact for you. And I don't know about you, Kim, but I always seem to notice that when you have alternate gender twins like that, the guy twin is always just massive. As we can see, Will Kerr is a tall lad.
And so is Maddie. She looks like she holds her own in terms of height for women.
Oh yeah, Maddie lifts for sure, no question there.
Great job shredding the zone that they have pitching. The way he adjusted to throw was very skillful. Pitching, working with Powers. Fortunate turnover here. Kingston gets a chance to get it back. Notre-Dame gets another chance on offense. Kingston is going to put on some match defense, I believe.
You know, Kim, I don't know how many zones I've seen with twins in the cup, but that was pretty effective. I like to see it. And then that was Oliver Castle with the block there. Unfortunately, they weren't able to put it in, but nice try, nice defense there.
Kingston on the doorstep of the end zone. Great fake here by Kerr to put it to the end zone, put it to space here for number 7, Doyle. I believe got an elbow to the head. Oh, that was OB. So probably out of bounds here. I thought it was a score. Notre-Dame gets back on O with an IO throw that seems to get caught in the wind here. Pigeon, who looked like he was about to try and catch his own throw. I respect that hustle.
This game has gone from chaos to chaos. An out-of-bounds called with a bit of an injury, a huck upfield to a multi-person clash, then a huck back to the other side. Looked like there was a call on the field, an interception, and then a huck back the other way out of bounds. The coaches need to get a handle on this game. Tell the players to calm down. They can control their own tempo, and whoever has more control on this game will come out.
Slight bit of composure here on both ends. There's a lot of quickness in the transitions, and so when there's a D, when the disc is turned over, there is a breathing period that I would recommend to players that we're seeing, I think, a little bit less in this game. It's something that you would recommend for them to just take a breath, look at what's upfield for you before you pick up the disc. And it feels like there's a lot of quickness to throw, quickness to huck, and it may be affecting the ability on both ends to score. Just out of reach for Kingston. Collège Notre-Dame is going to get another opportunity to make the way upfield. Powers with the disc. Gets it to Pitchin. Who tries to put it upwind again, and that floats and is D'd by Kingston.
We had a bag on the field there, Kim. Erica pulled that off. So just while we're speaking about Erica for a moment, she was right there on the open side in the previous possession that Kingston had, calling for the disc, and they wouldn't throw it to her. She's a key cutter for this Kingston team. And as we were talking about earlier, they got to have everyone involved if they're going to win. Now, they did throw to open in the end zone, and she didn't have to keep it in their hands. So I'm not saying Kingston aren't throwing all genders, but they're definitely a male-dominated team.
Doyle with the disc, looking for Castle, looks off, slowly making it her way down the field. McClatchy with it to Kerr. Kerr looking for a little pop pass to her twin, who tries to get in the end zone and just a bit too quick here. Collège Notre-Dame gets it back on O. Sanjay, I can't imagine how tired Pitchin must be at this point, trying to go pick up the disc.
Pitching can do anything they set their mind to, and I believe that they have the energy to keep this going forward. I really like that connection there, that twin connection, Kerr to Kerr. She threw it up in a way that I think only a sibling can understand, predict what's going to come up next, you know?
Pitchin working with Ichalov. To a number 7 that I don't have. Back to Pitchin with Powers. Powers gets it to Langlois, close to the end zone. Powers looking upfield. That is just out of his hands. And what an amazing grab. Fortunately, affected by the ground on lay. Notre-Dame making their way up the far sideline. Nice catch here by Pitchin. On the doorstep of the end zone. Kingston gets it back on O. IO uncompleted here for Kingston. Unfortunately, throwing downwind on an IO is quite a difficult throw because it tends to die in the wind. Great lead here. Castle.
Long point for him, and it's really big on whoever gets this point. If Notre-Dame get it, they could just take that 4-0 advantage and run the rest of this game. You know, that's enough. That's a tough run for Kingston to try and get back. On the flip side, if Kingston get it, they reduce the difference to only 2 goals, and more importantly, it's the moral win of winning such a long possession. And look at them there; they are jazzed to have gotten that possession.
They got it done. So we're 4-2 Notre-Dame, Collège Notre-Dame versus Kingston.
Good conversation now for the coaches of both sides. How much do you run up the same lines? You know, especially at this level, you see a lot of the same, 10 or so players play a lot of the same teams, but that was a really long point. So do you show the depth of your squad, or you trust the stamina and the cardio of your best players? It looks like at least Kingston, they've changed up their roster a good amount. So we're not seeing either of the Kerr siblings. Erica Struck is not out there. Hard to see who else, but they're definitely changing it up a little bit.
I think it's so early in the season at this point. It's beginning of May. I would really want to get every single person out on that field, try and get as many touches as possible, try and spread out the play time so that everyone really has the ability to work on their throws, to work on their cutting abilities, get everyone out there on the field to make sure that you can have as well of a rounded roster as you could come July, August. Zone by Kingston again. Mayo faking the little scuba. Definitely faking out the cup, which is working well. Looking very patient with the disc, Mayo. Mayo and Bayette back and forth.
Kim, despite these windy conditions, this Notre Dame O-line is swinging it across the field like some of the best teams I've seen. They aren't even stressed at all about anything. Now, they did get a throwaway right there. That's commentator's curse for you, but nice play. Ooh, dangerous play there. Let's see if they have a call on the field. It looks like he did call dangerous play. Looks like it's not contested. We'll see if he has to go off or he can stay on the field. Oh, it was contested. It is going back, so contested dangerous play.
An important part of the game, I don't know for the viewers at home if this is something that you're aware of, but an important part of the Frisbee community and the Frisbee philosophy is that there's a spirit of the game. And so anytime there's a call on the field, it's important for the player and the person who's defending them to really have a discussion, try and stay as calm and relatively open to discussion as you can be when discussing these calls. You can self-referee, so you can push back on any comment that they're making, try and come to an agreement. And so something that we definitely want to see here at the high school level, something that you want to see implemented and developed throughout the players. Notre-Dame back on O, Veillette with the disc. To Mayo, who pops it up. Nice catch here. McCarthy all the way to the end zone, and I have a hood and a ponytail. I cannot tell who that is.
Great point there by Notre-Dame. They had to get that hold in order to stop the flow from Kingston. You know, it's a back and forth game. It's really tight. Every point is having a bunch of turnovers, and that's partly because both teams want to run and gun it, partly because of the weather, partly because, you know, this is still early on in the season, as you were saying, and these teams aren't super well practiced. It'll come down to which teams. It's a matter of inches now. Kim, you know, that'll be the defining factor for this game. Notre Dame obviously have an advantage, but it could go either way at this point. I don't really get a sense that one team is playing a lot better than the other.
Fair point. We have our shout out from earlier in the game, number 7, Luigi Rodriguez. Oh, it's just because we had him as number 10. There you go. Figured it out. Currently looking at 4 female matching players on the field. We mentioned this a bit previously, but this is such a great new rule implementation that came, I believe, a few years ago, forcing the team going out with, when there are 4 female matching players, one of the female matching players has to be the one to pull. And a pull, for those at home who may not be as familiar, is the person who uses the frisbee right here to start off the point, and you throw it as far as you can down the field. It's a skill that when you're playing mixed, oftentimes male matching players have an ability to throw a bit further, and it's a skill that is not often developed in female matching players, and so it is such a lovely implementation here in the high school space. It forces the female matching players to learn how to pull and to really develop a skill that is crucial as you evolve in the game.
So true. And it's seeing mixed ultimate at this age, where if you are playing ultimate outside of high school and you're playing juniors, you only typically play single gender. There isn't a mixed gender club. So high school is the only opportunity for young folks to be playing mixed ultimate. And it's really important that they get to play proper mixed, not just 3 guys bombing it down the field to each other.
Bonham Carter trying to put it to Richard. That is deep.
Physical defense there by Elaine Gregor by Notre Dame. A nice defensive move there. Elaine is a key player for the Notre Dame team.
Yeah. A bit of ponytail adjusting. It appears to be a foul call. What do you think, Sanjay?
I'm not sure. I think they might have been calling a travel. You know, at the higher levels, when you watch college and definitely at club or masters, you see people use the hand signals, which is great for you and I up here in the commentary booth to understand what's going on. We have no idea what they're saying at this point. And the worst part is they don't seem to know what they're saying either.
It's definitely an interesting level that they're playing at, because some people come in, people that we talked about earlier in the game. Someone like Mayo, who comes in with a ton of experience, having made U20s, comes in with a level of rule knowing and ability to have these discussions on the field that are a little bit more developed than other players. And so it's really important to try and educate everyone and have these discussions. We can see here observer on the field trying to have and enable that discussion with the players.
Long discussion here, Kim. Usually the rule is after 60 seconds, if you haven't resolved it, you got to send it back. So not sure what the delay is here. they do have an observer on the field, so at least they know that they have someone there who does know all the rules.
Exactly. Perhaps we can take this time to go over some of the objectives that each of the teams have. So for Kingston Secondary School, their objective in this tournament is to make a top 8 versus Collège Notre-Dame, who for the last 2 years finished 3rd, and so their objective is to hope for a top 4.
I mean, I'm sure Kingston wouldn't object to a top 4 finish either, but I think it's important for teams to go into these tournaments with ideas of what success means to them. So it looks like the disc went all the way back to Kingston when they had the disc a while ago. I wonder what the call was. I guess we'll never know. Travel called by Notre-Dame onto Kingston.
It's a hard thing to contest as a player who has the disc in your hand. If someone calls the travel, it tends to be correct in my opinion, because you don't know where your pivot foot is. Bonham Carter gets the disc around right on that far sideline. Fakes out the hammer.
I will agree with Notre-Dame on that one. I do think it was a travel. He faked that hammer over his head and then took a step back because he knew what he did. It's a lot of these kind of plays that bogs down the game and makes it less fun for the viewers at home.
Yeah. Powers having a discussion with a coach on the sideline or someone from the supporting staff. So the disc goes back to Bonham Carter. Bonham Carter working with Diak. Unfortunate drop here. You can hear it on the stream here from the sidelines. People were not happy with that one. Pitch in to Rodriguez. Rodriguez to Powers. Powers doing a good job gaining yards on these. De Langlois back to Powers. Pitch in, look into the end zone. And that is completed on an upwind.
That's a really tough point. They called him out, so they abandoned the zone defense that Kingston were doing. And as one of their ladies was trying to track back and figure out who she was marking, it was thrown right over her head. That's tough. It's one of those things where, maybe she gets a bit more awareness, raises an arm, gets some luck. Something happens. Unfortunately, it didn't go for them, so now Notre Dame are up 6-2. Halftime surely has to be soon. There's a point half, first team to get to 8 points, but there's 7 points, I believe, sorry. But there's also a timed half that I believe must be coming on shortly.
They're 85-minute games, and so I believe you would be right. This current game has no observers. Notre-Dame looking to match up downfield. We have 4 female matching players, and so the puller is a female. Kingston picking it up and hucking right from the get-go. Mayo getting involved, putting it deep. And That is not completed. So close.
Huge
Running to
block
pick him
there
up.
by Jack Doyle. Hasn't had the loudest game today, Jack Doyle, but what a play there. That was basically in Notre Dame's hands. That would have taken them to half, and instead he gets a huge block. He looks a little worse for wear after that, but that way to not give up on that disc there, Jack.
Another one of these upwind hucks. They get caught in the wind a lot, so that's a reality when you're trying to throw upwind. It has to be a ton of spin and oftentimes lower release than what we're seeing right now. If you release too high, it tends to pop in the wind like we're seeing.
You would just lead a fish and make it look easy, you know?
Exactly. Kingston on the sideline. Brown to Doyle, who puts it to the end zone, and that is completed.
Not quite a traditional bookend there by Jack Doyle, but great assist. Technically a travel if you look closely at his feet there, but great throw, a great bid. What a point for Jack Doyle. Anyone watching at home supporting the Doyle family, they can all be proud for this guy. It's been a 1-1 game for a while here, Kim. Both teams are scoring, both teams are creating turnovers, both teams are creating opportunities. I think Notre-Dame are a bit more consistent in their throws. A lot of that is Elizabeth Mayo. You can't really fake that kind of technique, but they're being more patient, whereas Kingston maybe have a bit more effort, especially on defense, and they're using their women to a bit more use here overall, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I was convinced we were going to halftime. All right, so we're still on the field. We have Kingston out on defense here.
Notre Dame's going to pick up the disc here, and if they score, it will be halftime for them. Kingston are going to do their best to try and prevent that from happening. They want to try and get as many points before half is forced. A lot of very physical game here, Cam. A lot of contact, and not super dangerous stuff. Not people trying to jump into each other in the sky. Sorry for that. But this Kingston zone is really trying to put a hamper on Notre Dame's forward momentum through little dish passes.
It feels like they brought Maillot onto this line with Pitchin and Veillette. Not Veillette. Yes. I'm interested to see what their thought process is, just to give additional power, I believe, in the handler space to try and get that score upwind. So Maillot working with Powers. Pitchin. Great throw here by Veillette. Getting called for a travel. Veillette, Pitchin, and Maillot really doing a great job quarterbacking this offense. Shredding the zone all the way through to the end zone. Veillette right on the doorstep. Looking at Maillot. Pitchin gets it across the field. Powers. And a quick backhand around. He gets called on a travel. So the disc is going to go back to Mayo. Mayo tried to get that off to Langlois, but we're going to have to try that again.
It's a shame there isn't an observer in this game, Kim, because the rules changed recently. In theory, a travel is only called if a change of direction or an acceleration when receiving the disc would affect the throw. That's when it's called a travel. So in instances like this where he's moving in the same direction and he would have made that throw either way, it's not really a travel call. And it's understandable. These are high school students. They can't be expected to know all the rules. And another instance here, I mean, they just scored a goal. They don't know if it's in or out. We don't know if it's in or out, and that's when you have an observer. Not having observers on a live stream game is kind of crazy here, Kim.
Yes, and in this instance, we see that there appears to be a lot of calls, and the way it's just, I'm reading from the body language. It feels like the body language feels a little bit contentious. I don't know if you agree or if that's what you see as well.
Yeah, it's not great, but anyways, it's fine. It's halftime now, and I just wanted to comment on Kingston's zone there. You know, Erica Olachuk was really working hard, and the whole zone was, of course, but I noticed that number 33, Cooper McClatchy, and now maybe this is a coaching instruction, but he was really in front of the handlers, not taking away enough of the space in between him and Erica, so they were throwing in between him and Erica a bunch of times, and that's how they eventually broke that zone and got that goal. Now, here we are at halftime.
We're going to take a break here at halftime and come back to you in a few.
I love working with the team towards a common goal.
For the camaraderie.
Camaraderie and playing with my teammates.
I play for my team. Teamwork and the connections that I can build on and off field.
For the community and the exercise.
Because of the community and the competition.
I like playing Ultimate Frisbee for the competition.
I play for the competition and the fun.
For fun.
Because fun.
I love getting to work hard.
You get out of it what you put into it.
Leave everything out here.
Every time I step on the field, I want to be a better player.
You know, give something people to talk about.
Be happy but never satisfied.
To step away from real life and focus on Frisbee.
I play because I love Ultimate.
Find your drive.
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 Welcome back to the Ultimate Canada High School Invitational in Cambridge, Ontario. We have Kingston Secondary School playing against Collège Notre-Dame from Quebec. So far, we are at 7-3. 7-3 Notre-Dame versus Kingston. And Notre-Dame starts on 0. Great pull here by Kingston. Right in the middle of the end zone. I believe we have the trio of Maillot, Veillette, and Pitchin playing together again. And they're expertly working it up the field. Maillot working with Veillette here. Tries to put it, and that just is a bit too far. Kingston starts with it on offense and puts it deep right away. And that's just too far for Kerr.
We're seeing a different zone look here from Kingston. A bit of a front zone, so takes away the huck, takes away that option that was happening on the first point or first half where they can kind of run through. However, it does allow for a lot more swings, horizontal movement, so it requires more cardio from this Kingston team. Didn't work, and they got that goal.
McCarthy to her fellow teammate, lady who I can't see her number. I'd love to give you your props, but great job slicing it all the way up the field. Collège Notre-Dame just proving once again that they deserve their spot here. They deserve that third place that they've had 2 years in a row. And I would not be surprised if they make it very high on that top 4 objective.
Yeah, Notre Dame came in seeded third this year, and they're hoping to break that. I think I remember seeing them last year. It's tough, you know. It's such a tough competition, and against so many teams in Canada, having a couple top talent players is enough to make you win a game. But when you get to the highest teams like UCHSI that we saw earlier today, or Calvin or Bowmanville, you can't just rely on one person or 3 people to carry it through. You need depth through your top 10 players.
Notre-Dame mentioned in their pre-tournament responses to the questions from Ultimate Canada, stating that they didn't have a lot of time to prepare for strategies, mainly on defense. And that's an interesting concept. Now that we're in early May, a lot of these teams are now getting on the field and they haven't had a lot of time to practice. And so a lot of this zone requires practice time and trying to to implement the strategies that you have. And so it's interesting to see how they're going to evolve throughout the season and try and bring a little bit more depth to their defensive game. And I believe that is called down. It looked like Kingston was trying to just keep it moving. Later Tufts here have the disc in our hands, trying to get that to Bonham Carter. Pitchin having discussions with Kingston on rules here. So the disc will go back to Plater Tufts. To Brown. Another call on the field. I saw here from Bonham Carter that it was a travel.
I've seen blowouts, I've seen long points, but I don't think I've seen a game with this many stoppages in a while. I think both teams are getting restless and just want to play, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like a paradox. As soon as one team starts making a lot of calls, the other team feels like they have to make a lot of calls as well to compensate, so it's tough.
I completely agree, yeah. An attempt at a break throw puts the disc back in Notre-Dame's hands. Pitch in, gets it off quickly. Trying to get that a bit too far out of reach. Kingston with a chance to score here, and that is completed. I believe that is Kerr, or Maddie Kerr. So 8-4 for Notre-Dame.
Another nice goal there from Kingston this game. You know, they've had some nice possessions, some nice points, and I think they can be proud. You know, it's going to be tight for them to try and get a turnover in the last for the rest of this half to claw back these 4 points. It's possible, but it's going to be tough. But I think if they should leave this game feeling positive about some of this offensive work and some of the really athletic defensive plays they've put out on the field. They only have 13 minutes before the end of the game, so they got to get basically 4 breaks in a row if they want to get a result here against Notre-Dame.
They do have the advantage of the wind. They're going downwind. It's impressive here. I'm reading through the Kingston statements about the history of the program, and they said that their school started in high school league in 2000. So we're 26 years old.
Yeah,
Kingston's a well-known
program. Kingston's a well-known program in Ontario. You know, I'm not surprised that they feel this way. Okay, Notre Dame were doing what they do best, walking it up the field. Kingston abandoned the alternate zone they were trying, but they're swinging around really well. Erica is trying to keep up with that disc, but it is tough work out here. Hearing a milk call from that Kingston sideline, so we're dropping into a one-on-one match defense.
Powers looking upfield to Mayo, and that is completed for Collège Notre-Dame with a nice little kiss to the frisbee.
He's so hard to stop because if you force him upfield, he's fast, and if you have someone else who can throw to him, he's basically unstoppable. If you force him under, he's gonna throw some dimes up there. Really tough to try and mark him on the fly. You know, at least if you're taking him from the start of the point, it's a bit easier. But you know, that was a milk call, so someone just has to pick him up from a zone point. Really tough there. It can be fun to see tomorrow how some of these other teams try and match up against him. See what they can do to stop Ludovic Mayo.
I agree. He's been playing with a lot of confidence, showing that level of athleticism and experience that he has on the field. Definitely helping Notre-Dame to score these upwind points and get the success that they've had so far in this game. Notre-Dame looking to pull downwind. A great pull here. Bonham Carter has to pick it up quite far at the end zone. Looking for Diak to help him is caught. Right. Looking upfield, looking break. Gets it to Bonham Carter. I'm unsure if that was a strip call. Oh no, this is a turnover. Pitch in to pick up the disc, looking for his end zone stack. And that is just a bit too low. Bonham Carter looking upfield for his bird stack. Gets it to Plater Tufts. Couple short movements. Back to Bonham Carter. Diak circling back. Kerr and Diak working together, and they put it to the end zone. Nice. Notre-Dame with a chance to score on 0. Kingston, a bit of a push zone here. To Rodriguez to Pitchin. Pitchin trying to get it through that zone here. Of a clamp on a sideline. Seems to be proving a bit difficult, and the turn works. Kingston with a quick give and go to the end zone, and they're successful. Kingston.
Yeah, that zone was really effective there on that sideline. Didn't let them get off the sideline, and then he tried to do a pushback backwards only to get a hand block, and then, you know, that's many steps away from the end zone. Too easy to put it in. Nice goal there by Kingston. It's going to be fun to see them against some other teams tomorrow, see how they match up. We got about 7 minutes left in this game. Still, anything's possible. See what Kingston else has to throw at this Notre Dame team. I haven't seen Notre Dame really change anything up, and maybe that's because, as you were saying, Notre Dame hasn't had a whole lot of time to practice going into today. But going into tomorrow, you know, if they just run the same system all day and people are able to watch this tape and know what to expect, it's going to be hard for them to win. So I know coaches for Notre Dame, Francois and Antoine and Jeremy, they're going to be looking at this today and looking at this game and thinking, what can we do when other teams throw similar looks at us tomorrow?
Yes, interesting. They had mentioned that they do, for the most part, only match defense, whereas a lot of the teams that we've seen today have some form of a zone in their arsenal, which it helps when you were talking about these windy, rainy, sleety conditions that you were talking about earlier. It definitely gives you an advantage. Having to force an O-line to work extremely hard to get 10, 15, 20 throws to get all the way up the field. Another zone look by Kingston. Olashuk on the mark. And I believe we just heard the soft cap go off. Mayo with the disc on the sideline gets it through the zone to Vayet to Sebnia. Nice throw here through the zone. They're making their way up the field. Mayo with the disc in his hands. Great work. And they punch it in. Mayo and Vayet, great job.
It wouldn't be
Bit of
important this
discussion on the
game
field.
if there wasn't some sort of call. So not surprised to see the disc going back.
Not sure what the call is. And really quickly, Mayo, two fellow lady on his team. I'm not sure who you are. McCarthy? Maybe McCarthy? Sanjay, thoughts?
When the teams are playing their game, we're seeing some really fun offenses. I think Kingston's defensive look there was interesting. I don't know if their cup was fully aligned in what they were trying to do, but Notre Dame kind of just cut through them, and that's Notre Dame with the game. You know, you give them an easy chance here on offense, and you give them consistent looks, and they'll slice through you. And I think it's going to be interesting tomorrow to see them how they stack up defensively against other teams. I don't think they really were challenged defensively today, so it'll be interesting to see what they do next tomorrow in the knockout rounds on how they deal with that. For Kingston, I think it's a well-rounded team. I think they came up against a really strong offense, but they had some nice defensive plays. I don't know if the zone is their best look. I think they were better athletically. Just looking at this team walking down the line, they're a tall team. I think they can match up against teams athletically, and it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that. And I think tomorrow is what are they going to do offensively when they find some other defensive looks thrown against them? Do they have enough in their arsenal to come out and maybe beat their seed and have a good day tomorrow?
Great points. Thank you for all your lovely insights, Sanjay. This was a pleasure. Kingston, Notre-Dame. Notre-Dame takes it 10-5 here at the Ultimate Canada High School Invitational in Cambridge, Ontario. Thanks for joining. Thanks to all our sponsors, and we will see you guys